It's all me. Anyway, before we get into this first game, which is just about to start, we are going to take a quick look at our spectator interface so you guys can tell exactly what you're going to see in-game. We'll be right back.
To help follow along with the action, we've built a spectator interface that shows you all the information you need. Let's walk through it so you know exactly what to look out for during combat. For each player, we have 2 rows of spells located underneath their health bar. The first row of icons you see are defensive abilities that reduce or prevent damage. When a player activates a vital defensive cooldown like Divine Shield, you'll see a blue shield effect pop up. Players will be harder to kill while these spells are active. The bottom row of ability icons you see are offensive cooldowns. These will be abilities that greatly increase a player's damage output or how much healing they're able to generate as a healer. When a player activates a strong offensive cooldown, a visible fire effect appears behind their health bar. They'll be very dangerous while that's active. In the top right corner of each player's frame, you can see which of the 3 anti-crowd control honor talents they've picked. These are powerful abilities that remove or reduce incoming crowd control effects. Lastly, if matches go on for a long period of time, the healers will have to contend with the built-in dampening effect. Dampening kicks in once 5 minutes have elapsed and reduces the effectiveness of all healing spells and effects. Now you're ready to follow along with the fast-paced action of the World of Warcraft arena.
Right, we are getting into the match right now. There it is, the gates have opened. And it does look like, ooh, this is a comp that we know that Splyce is able to run, this Windwalker Demon Hunter. So we'll have to see if this is a good pick.
Yeah, into the Thundercleave from Pen and Paper, which is a bit unexpected. We're going to have to see how well Doyu can kite Thugonomics, which can be a difficult task against a Demon Hunter and Windwalker. But Chun-Li under pressure. Tons of damage coming up from PCAT early on. They're trying to get the Touch of Karma Force, but with Iron Bark and Fortify Improved, Chun-Li should be able to stabilize. He's very scared, though, behind the pillar over here. Doyu trying to set up a Stormkeeper, but Thugonomics is attacking him as well. The spread pressure is starting to sink in. Novos is starting to feel the pressure. Tournament stage, first game at BlizzCon.
Yeah, it's an interesting comp. They really were trying to burst down Saji. You say that Chun-Li is not playing Serenity. Last tournament, they definitely were. Oh, and
what is going
burst.
on? Touch of Karma already forced out from Chun-Li. Normally, the Pen and Paper playing this composition, we focus on surviving and extending the match, but so far, they've been unleashing tons of pressure. In the meantime, setting up a swap onto Saji, down below half, manages to survive the stun lock, which means he'll be able to use Frenzy. Nice Imprison on the Frenzy regeneration. Perfect timing from Thugonomics. Now they need to stay on target. If they allow Saji to recover, it's going to be difficult to maintain this momentum. Doyu now under fire as they switch their attention to him. I like the constant swaps off the Hots. Chun-Li, though, needs to be careful, wants to play defensive and not throw the match without Touch of Karma available.
Yeah, and you see Chun-Li all over the map right now, but definitely trying to stick onto the back of Saji. We'll see if he swaps, but look at Thug just taking so much damage at this point, down to half. That Blur didn't proc, and that's really important. He needs to keep that. And there we go, now we have the swap. Chun-Li is trying to get over there, dives away from PCAT because he is in trouble. I really like that Pen and Paper is punishing Chun-Li every time he pushes in.
Oh, nice portal into Ride the Wind to reconnect onto Saji. They're focusing on split DPS, and it's starting to sink in. Doyu down to half, Fell Barrage from Thugonomics. Doyu jumps away, but it ultimately reconnects. PCAT trying to force Chun-Li away. I like the defense from the Warrior here. He's got good synergy with the Resto Druid, just protecting the Druid, keeping Chun-Li on his toes, but there goes the Chaos Nova. The double stuns are about to land together. Barkskin needs to be enough. It looks to be so. Some healing surges from Doyu bought the time for Saji to live. Now he's going to be able to start to re-stabilize. Doyu still down at half. Thugonomics trying to keep up his momentum. As soon as Fell Barrage is available, look for those Fell Lasers to fly, because Thugonomics is going to do a ton of damage with that ability.
Oh, he's going for it. Doyu was able to get off an Ice Fury, tossing out that instant damage. There we go. Touch of Death with the clones.
Wombo.
Lots of damage onto Saji, having to use that Iron Bark on himself because Bark Skim was down.
Perfect fear there from PCAT. That intimidating shout during the Touch of Death attempt protected Saji, and that's the synergy between the Warrior and Resto Druid that is required to break up these burst setups. If Saji can stabilize through the spread pressure, they're going to be looking good, but Thugonomics' pressure is starting to sink in. Doyu down below half. Chun-Li paralyzes Saji. He switches over to Doyu. Fell Barrage being channeled. Insta-pummel. PCAT is insane on this Warrior coming up from China region, playing really well with these shutdowns.
Oh, and they're on Chun-Li again. Great Imprison onto PCAT, though, allows Chun-Li to try to get back to his target. Looks looks like they're going to go on Doyu pretty hard. That Ride the Wind used just very briefly right there to stay on target. And with the Elemental Shaman, you got to remember, it's very important to not kick the wrong school. They have so many schools available.
Oh, Saji now getting swapped too, but with no stuns, he should be all right. Chun-Li! Oh boy, what is going on? Touch of Karma forced out, barely surviving through that Earthshock stun. Doyu threatens lethal constantly, but Chun-Li now has thrown caution to the wind, trying to train down the healer, but he's overextending. PCat's forcing him back. Bash it out of Stormbolt, portals away, they waste the darkness. Chun-Li portaled out of the darkness, and now that cooldown won't be available for later. A bit of a misplay there between Chun-Li and Thugonomics, and they're starting to make Novus' team look shaky. They need to find a kill here now. Shaji caught into the stuns. Barkskin gets traded out. Will they be able to burst him down? Frenzy Regeneration gets imprisoned. Perfect timing for Thugonomics. They switch off the imprison, but they need to get back on that Resto Druid. They know it. They're back onto him. Will Saji be able to deal with this? He's down low, trying to kite away with the dash. Doyu healing him up with some healing surges. PCat is low as well. Saji has started to stabilize, and as we get closer to dampening, setups like that will become way more difficult to recover from.
Yeah, it seems like Saji, and during those times when they go really hard on Saji, Doe and PCat are we're rotting down just from that cleave from both players.
Yeah, we can see Doyu just crowd controlling Thugonomics, a root totem into a cyclone. Good crowd control between Saji and Doyu, keeping the Demon Hunter under control. But Novos' mana seems to be doing all right as we see him pop out of barrel. Actually a lead for Saji. Thugonomics now getting swapped over to good coordination from PCat and Doyu. These constant swaps put Novos in the back foot.
Oh, they got the blur. That's important.
Enforcing the blur out, a major defensive cooldown for the Demon Hunter. Now Chun-Li caught into the bashes. They're trying to set up the kill. Imprisonment denies the kill. Chun-Li rolls away, but Stormbolt charged to follow up. Thugonomics goes for the peels. Chun-Li now will survive. Metamorphosis has been popped. They're going to on Doyu. Doyu jumps away. Thugonomics reconnects. They're still looking for this split DPS strategy. Chun-Li committing his touch of death. PCat trying to force him away. Nice cyclone from Novos. Denies the pressure from the warrior. Saji now getting bursted down if Thug wants to switch over. Looks like he's happy to just train the Elemental Shaman. They got Astral Shift and Barkskin from that attempt. So the next stun lock on Saji could be devastating.
Yeah, he does have that Iron Bark available, but they really need to keep the pressure up. Doyu, again, Thugonomics just on his back constantly. He was trying to get off the Ice Fury. There we go. Let's see if he can do that. Now he's going to have a lot of instant damage after that, but not hurting Thug too much. But look at how much mana Novos has dumped in the last few seconds.
I think Novos needs to consider going for a drink.
Yeah.
This is going to be going on for some time, I believe. So he's trying to use Healing Touch and extend his mana, but if he doesn't get a drink, he's 30% behind. Chun-Li getting bursted, trying to roll away. Iron Bark gets traded out. Doyu right on top of him. Cyclone's on Thug. Thug trinkets out. That was an offensive trinket. Now maybe if they catch Thugonomics in a stun behind a pillar, he could go down. He's going to have to be aware of that. They set up another swap onto Saji. Both players connect. Can PCat peel it off? He goes for the Stormbolt onto the Demon Hunter. Trinkets out to peel. Doyu gets paralyzed, but Saji survives, and the defense between the Warrior and the Druid has been excellent. Thug getting bursted down, catching him off guard. Offensive trinket punished instantly, and China is going to take game one over Splyce.
Wow.
Wow. So what happened in the last few seconds there, I was just watching Novos basically. He went out of line of sight to get that drink that you were talking about, but while he was back there, they were able to line up that kill onto Thugonomics just because, honestly, probably because of that trinket that you called out as well.
The Druid used his Iron Bark on the Monk earlier, so that's a major defensive he can use on any of his teammates. And then Thugonomics used his trinket, which is his way to escape a stun and then kite. Because he was stun locked at the end, it was a bad drink attempt. They needed to wait for Thugonomics' cooldowns to be available, then go for the drink. Or he needed to hold his trinket and then go for the drink. So definitely a misplay by Splyce there to try and set up for the late game. But China is looking impressive. That was phenomenal from them.
Yeah, that was.
Absolutely. I mean, the Thundercleave is such a good matchup as well into some of these double melee comps. So I really feel like Pen and Paper did their homework. They did not bring out the cleave that people did expect from them, and instead they brought out something that can deal with cleave. So that was really refreshing to see coming out of them. And like Sid was saying, when Novos had that Iron Bark and he dropped it on Chun-Li, Chun-Li actually had his touch of karma still. So I would have much rather seen that used on the Demon Hunter.
Yeah, definitely. I want to point out how awesome the phrase "pen and paper did their homework" is. Like that's.
I like that you catch that.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very well done. Very well done. You know, I love a pun. So when I can cast with someone who's also loving a pun, that's excellent. But yeah, that means game one is going to go to pen and paper. In probably, I think we would say that's a little bit of a surprising first outcome on the Grand Arena.
It is.
Definitely pen and paper. We've been saying for this whole weekend as we've been like rehearsing and everything that pen and paper looks really, really strong. So it's not overly surprising. It's not like, whoa, how is this even possible levels of crazy, but that's definitely like, that's a bit of an upset going up against Splyce in that first game.
I swear, when we're sitting backstage and we're like, who do you think's going to win? Oh, Splyce will win, obviously, right? And then we get on stage, nothing that we predict back there matters whatsoever. It's completely non-relevant.
Oh, it's going to be Gamescom all over again.
So we do have our map now locked in. It's going to be Ruins of Lordaeron, the choice coming out from Splyce, which to me means that they're probably going to go for a much more aggressive strategy, maybe even playing the same composition again with that Windwalker Demon Hunter.
I would like to see Pen and Paper actually switch to one of their cleaves now, because we know that that Splyce have an Arcane Mage available, and Arcane Mage Windwalker is a big counter for Resto Druid, Elemental Shaman comps like LSD. So, they're going to be looking in that Thunder again.
And on Runes of Lordaeron too.
I think we're going to see Trollonomics here.
Either Arcane or Windwalker DK. I think if they play Windwalker DK as good as they can, they could probably... Interesting they're playing the Druid. That makes me think that Novos, as when we interviewed him before the tournament, he said that he doesn't like playing on a clock. And when he plays a Shaman, his mana bar is on a clock. He's like an aggro healer in that comp. So by him picking Druid tells me that he's afraid of being on a clock. He wants to extend it to a late game. But Ellie Shaman Arms Warrior in the late game is probably one of the best comps. So I don't know if that strategy is going to work in this particular setup. And I'm starting to think that China might walk away with this 3-0.
Yeah, this is one of their Splyce is very, very, very good at Windwalker DK. So hopefully they can. I don't know. This is really interesting. I didn't expect them to pick this.
I think they rather go with comfort over the counter pick at this point. But that could be a deadly mistake, because the Arcane Mage, even if Thugonomics isn't super seasoned on it, I still think it's a very good matchup. It's a very easy matchup as well because of the lack of ranged kicks, because they have a warrior and they're going to be stunning up the Shaman. So there's not really anybody to stop all of those missiles and all that damage coming in. And I think that's going to be really tricky for a Resto Druid to deal with. But however, Windwalker DK, that's what got them here, right? So you can't really question that logic either.
Yeah, if you have Chun-Li and Velido on your team, then you should play Windwalker DK whenever you have the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And Ruins of Lordaeron is just a great map for Windwalker DK in general. It's really tough to get away from the Death Knight on this particular map. And the Windwalker, obviously, it's impossible to get away from Windwalker anyway. They're just all over the place, basically teleporting to you constantly. They're not annoying or anything. What are you talking about? This isn't salt that you're hearing right now. Nothing like that. But yeah, the Ruins of Lordaeron, they're going into the Thundercleave, and it's interesting you point out the Resto Druid choice as well. I'm trying to remember the exact stats that we were looking at earlier, but it was something like Novos has played. They've played like 40 games or something at this point, and like 35 of those he's been Resto Druid, and only like a few of them has he been Shaman. So it's interesting. He seems to be so comfortable on that Resto Druid, even though he's known for his Shaman play. It's really interesting. I did just get confirmation that the queue has been sent, so we will be getting into this game here very, very shortly. Any last predictions before we get into the second game?
No, my predictions, like we get up here and we're like, yeah, this will be 3-0 Splyce, right? And not at all.
I was going to give China a game, but I mean, they already got that. So China could honestly walk away with the series because they won the blind pick. So that means if it goes to game 5, if they actually have an answer to the Windwalker DK, should they lose this game, then this series is wide open. We could go all the way to game 5 right away.
All right, so here we are, game 2 between Pen and Paper and Splyce. Pen and Paper up 1-0 in this best-of-5 series. Vihel Supatis, take it away.
Yep.
Yeah, so right out of the gate, look for fast aggression from Splyce. We know that Novos playing that Resto Druid means that they are comfortable going into the late game, but like we said, Thunder in late game is just going to dismantle Windwalker DK once that dampening kicks in. Yeah, and without the Purge and Electrocute from a Resto Shaman, their aggression is going to be so much lower. And I think this composition might backfire on them. We'll have to wait and see. PCAT needs to be on the ball. He has to protect his Druid constantly from these setups that Velido and Chun-Li will attempt on Saji. Yeah, and they're just going to go in right away. Look at all the damage Chun-Li is taking already. This is not a great time for Chun-Li. Even in the last match, there we go, a Stormkeeper was able to be cast, so here comes the big damage on to Velido and Chun-Li. That Elemental Shaman's going to be able to cleave a ton. Both members of the team, Splyce, are now really low. Yeah, Velido and Doyu getting low. Icebound Fortitude could be forced out early on. Connects the Death Strike and stabilizes. That initial burst was a dog pile of cooldowns. Velido is now an open target for Pen and Paper. Yeah, this already is not looking good for Splyce. You know, Chun-Li down low, having to use that Fortifying Brew, but they are bursting right now. That was that touch of death. Not able to get too much out of it, unfortunately.
And by focusing Chun-Li, I can imagine Novos is keeping his life limbs on the Monk. But now they swap to Novos, and I don't know where they learned to do damage in China, but this is so much damage. I have never seen a Thundercleave with this much pressure early on. Novos is just hiding behind a tombstone in the corner, trying to recover. Does not want to lose game 2 and be put on match point. Grip on Saji, but they dodge the leg sweep. Doyu was able to escape. That's 2 leg sweeps in a row that Saji got away from. Now Valido game bursted down. He was isolated out. Iron Bark, and nice Cyclone. Low HP on the Iron Bark. If they can set up off of this, Stormkeeper is loaded up by Doyu. Novos caught into the bash, and Saji looking to carry. Full clone now on Novos. Valido in full retreat. Doyu jumping on top of him. Lavaverse, Ice Fury lines it barely at the last second, but they're still chasing him down. Triple Cyclone on Novos. Valido is still low. Caught into the Earthshock stun. He jumps into battle. If he was in battle that whole time, I think Valido might have gone down. Maybe he still will. So much damage coming out from PCAT at the moment. Valido barely staying alive.
Yeah, that offensive karma by Chun-Li. He wants to stay offensive because it is a ticking time bomb at this point. Valido's defensive cooldowns are down. Gets cloned at half again. Saji going for more clones, but does get kicked by Chun-Li. Chun-Li just sitting on the back of Do constantly.
Oh, another stun. Wind shear on Novos. Good cross CC. Valido now knocked into the open. Doyu trying to set up. Saji blinking in. Saji's so aggressive on the cycle. He fakes the mind freeze. He's moving towards Novos. He wants a clone. If Saji can get a clone here
he's
on
running after
Novos,
him.
Valido might go down. Saji's chasing him down. Bash into clone. Valido with no AMS for a couple of seconds, but Doyu's in trouble from Saji playing so aggressive. He's going to have to get healed back up. Valido is stabilized. Saji's making some aggressive moves, though, and keeping Novos on the back foot.
All right, they went for a kick on a little bit of a miscommunication right there, but that ride to win was able to for Chun-Li to get back. They're looking to kick every Stormkeeper. That's the big thing they need to interrupt. Chun-Li, again, look at how low he is. No karma for 30 seconds. This is bad. Novos is landing those heals. Whoa, that was close.
Look at Novos' mana. He's just tapped on mana from the constant swaps of Pen and Paper. He can't keep his hots on enough targets, and he's shortly going to be and Pen and Paper are relentless. This assault is not ending anytime soon. Tons of damage on Valido. Full clone on Novos, and China is literally insane. Valido Wraith walks away but goes down, and Pen and Paper are looking to show dominance here. 1 win away from 3-0ing Splyce.
It's so scary. Every time that Do gets that Stormkeeper off, he has 2 targets standing right in front of him that he's going to be able to just chain lightning into. Those 2 melees are just getting eaten alive. This is really impressive out of Pen and Paper.
Yeah, Do and Seigi was so amazing in this game. So many clones, he got low clones, rotated that back to the healer, and you could really tell that the pressure was mounting up because we saw Chun-Li miss a few in-caps on the healer, missed a few leg sweeps on the shaman, and all of a sudden we see all this pressure coming out of China, and it was just amazing to watch, honestly. We all thought this game would probably be a long game, but they made quick work of Splyce in this one.
Saji was so smart in that game. Because Novos wasn't a shaman, he didn't have to worry about Purge or Wind Shear. He didn't have to worry about falling behind. So he played aggressive. Rather than trying to extend the game, he played aggressive and looked for crowd control chains on Novos, and I don't think they were expecting that. I think they were expecting a passive game where the Druids stay 40 yards away, just protect themselves and heal until dampening, and Saji did not do that at all. Normally Thundercleave would need some amount of dampening to find a kill against a team of such high caliber as Splyce, but because of the offensive cross-crowd control, perfect cyclones, like that was insane.
Yeah, and talking about that, Zico, I think you actually picked out a replay for us to take a look at that shows that in detail. Can you walk us through this?
Yeah, absolutely. So once the replay starts rolling, it's going to be a clip of, let's have a look here. Okay, so this is a nice moment right here. We got Dewey's already charged up his Stormkeeper, and they're getting so much pressure. There's a grip on Saji. He goes immediately into Bear Form to dodge that stun, and then Do trinkets that leg sweep right away. And then here we got a nice in-cap onto Saji. Look at Novos. He goes in for the clone. He bashes, and this is really one of the few times where Splyce had a lot of pressure. But look at PPCat. The Warrior's job in this comp is to break up that pressure. He fears Novos, and all of a sudden, Novos is the one getting bashed. And now the pressure is amounting for the Thunder instead. And then here again, a grip, and Saji immediately gets the Bear Form. Yeah, and then as this clip keeps rolling, we're going to see Valido drop dangerously low. He's going to drop that anti-magic zone as well as that Iron Bark. And look at Saji right here. Immediate clone right there. And then after this, because Valido is so low, Novos gets bashed. And then Novos is going to be getting cloned here. And Chun-Li tries to get an in-cap there. That's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Doesn't manage to get it. And this was really the tempo of the game. Saji pushing in at the right moments, knowing he has a warrior that can back him up. And then here again, that's what led to the kill right there. Novos in another clone. So just really awesome synergy between this warrior and that Resto Druid, and this shaman is dishing out so much damage. This is unheard of.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, like every time we watch a Windwalker DK play, you can always sort of tell when the Windwalker DK is feeling on the back foot and feeling like they're very, they're scared and they're worried about what's going on by where the monk is throwing the paralysis. Because when you see the paralysis coming out on the one that's chasing down the monk, like we were seeing Chun-Li having to throw a paralysis onto PCAT right at the end of that last game there, just to get away from him. That's the point where you say, okay, they're no longer using that little bit of extra CC to go for setups. They're using that little bit of CC to try and break up the aggression from the other team. And so as we're watching these games, if they do continue to play the Windwalker DK, which I think we'll probably see it again in this series, unless, I guess it depends on where we go to this next map. But if we do see that again, that's one of the big things I think to watch out for.
I have no idea what Splyce is going to run at this point against them.
Arcane Mage Windwalker. Please, Splyce, do it.
Yeah, that's
Believe in
Thug is confident.
Trollonomics, as I do.
Yeah.
Do you not think that Doyu would just delete Thugonomics
Absolutely
on
not.
Arcane? You don't think he could?
No.
I swear he's doing the most damage I've ever seen.
I mean, hands down, he is definitely a king of damage. There's no question there. But the Arcane Mage has so many slippery ways to avoid that damage. If Thugonomics blinks when he sees that a Stormkeeper has been cast, that's 50% damage reduction for 2 seconds. When you have 4 blinks, all of a sudden, you can time that at the end of the Ice Fury cast, you blink. 50% damage reduction on that burst. And also, I don't think that the Shaman can play that aggressive against an Arcane Mage, because all of a sudden, there is Klepto in play here. So all of those hots are going to be gone. 1 incap on the rest of Druid, Chun-Li popping Touch of Death or Arcane Power, and, you know, he has to run. He can't really stand still and cast anymore. So I would like to see it, but we'll have to see what Splyce thinks.
We're going to find out in just a second. We're going to take a very quick commercial break, but we will be right back with Game 3. We've got Pen and Paper up 2-0 versus Splyce. You're not going to want to miss this one. Stick around.
The 2017 World of Warcraft Arena World Championship is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
All right, guys, welcome back. We are about to go into Game 3 of Pen and Paper versus Splyce. Pen and Paper, kind of the underdog in this series, currently up 2-0 versus Splyce, which is a team full of tournament veterans. And as you guys can see right there, we have now locked in the compositions that they're going to be playing.
Hunter.
Yeah, we're going to get a look at that on your screen here.
I don't know about
in
that.
just a second.
Yeah, we're going to have the draft up in a second, but you can see behind us, you know, behind the players, they've already locked in, so it looks like that's going to be Thug on Havoc again. It didn't turn out too well, but the big difference is they're going to have a Shaman this time instead as the healer.
I really don't think the healer is the biggest issue. I mean, sure, if the game goes on for a long period of time, you're not going to out-mana the Thunder. But at the same time, I don't know. Novus is a main Shaman, so maybe it's a comfort thing.
This is an all-in comp from Splyce.
Yeah.
They're going to go after Saji, they're going to burst him down in a stun, they're going to imprison his frenzy, and then Novus is going to do nothing but press Purge on the healer until he's dead.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be playing that electrocute build. We're going to be looking at a very fast-paced game. They're going to be trying to rush down either Do or Saji.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do and PCAT, I will say that this is going to be their game to shine. They're going to have to peel for Saji non-stop, right at the beginning especially.
Yeah.
This is betting a lot on that all-in on the Druid, but it could pay off. And like you're saying, you know, Novos, this is what he's comfortable on. He is a Resto Shaman main. You know, he's been playing Resto Shaman forever.
I really wonder if Thugonomics is going to be playing the all-in build, or if he's going to be
always does, man.
He does?
He's like a Destralock that only plays big Chaos Bolt, and a Demon Hunter that only plays the one-shot.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's going to be interesting to see for sure. I think that could be a really good win condition for them. We'll see how it goes, though.
And it's going to be on Ashamin's Fall, so it's a smaller map. You know, one of our overall.
I don't think that was a good map pick.
Yeah.
No?
I would like to see Blade's Edge or something where you kind of force them to stack a bit more.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. It's worth noting that this is not an elimination series. The team that loses this is obviously they're going to be up against it, but they're not out of the tournament just yet. So Splyce shouldn't feel too much under the gun at the moment. That said, if they can come back, take 3 games in a row, and win this series, that's going to put them in a much better position to advance to the finals at BlizzCon.
I feel like Splyce are almost asleep. I mean, it's kind of early here in North America, but they need to wake up. They need to get their caffeine going because they're on match point at this point, and they don't want to lose the Pen and Paper first series of the day, man. All
right, let's see how fast Splyce connects to their target. They're definitely going to be looking for Saji. Saji is pre-hotting immediately. Looks like they're going to start on Doe, though. They do get a kickoff on that very first Stormkeeper, but that does mean that Doe's going to be able to get off that Storm, or the Ice Fury, rather.
Yeah, they're training down Chun-Li once again, trying to get Earthshield on Chun-Li, and then when they go for their burst, sometimes they switch to Thugonomics. Touch of Death committed, they go for the kill onto Doyu, immediately trades out his Astral Shift, recognizing the cooldowns, but now gets imprisoned on it. Decent peels there from Thugonomics, it's going to buy them more time to set up. Like that reaction, but now Thugonomics is going to be the playmaker. He's got Metamorphosis, Doyu is an opening target. They need to get Saji in crowd control. They need to get him into a Paralyze before they go for the burst. Novos, though, getting swapped to Earthshock into a full bash. Novos down below half, barely survives. Thugonomics saves him with that darkness, but it was overlapped. Cooldown overlap from Splyce has been the story of this series, and it's costing them matches. Chun-Li now uses Touch of Karma. Full Hex landed. Thugonomics caught into the Stormbolt, and Pen and Paper let it rip. Everybody dangerously low. Novo struggling to recover. Finally, some pressure on Doyu. There's the Paralyze. They need to get the kill with this, but PCAT denies it with a perfectly timed intimidating shot on Thugonomics, just not able to connect. Saji now should be able to get the heals going, and Do should stay alive.
And so the all-in strat was actually going to be on the Shaman. Chun-Li is even playing Tiger Eye Brew to kind of get by all that armor that Do's going to have.
Oh, Novos catches a healing wave there. Chun-Li's literally riding the wind away. Chun-Li is so scared. You can see the nerves in this match. They're getting knocked around and bodied by Pen and Paper.
It's really scary because PCAT's doing a great job of stacking onto Do every single time so that he's going to be able to cleave down Thug and PCAT. And great kiting with gust of wind right there.
Ooh, Ice Fury attempt. Novos needs to be ready for this. Chun-Li getting bursted down. Healing Waves loaded up and channeled into Chun-Li. Now he will stabilize, but Doyu's defensive cooldowns are shortly going to be available. Iron Bark available. Pen and Paper are in a good position. This double stun lock is basically getting absolutely nothing done. This is looking terrible for Splyce as Novos' mana is starting to wane. He's trying to get a drink in the back line. They need to play defense. Chun-Li portals away. Thugonomics retreats. Good team coordination here to set up a drink for Novos, but he's not getting any mana. He got literally 0 mana. Saji's right on top of him. Goes for the bash cyclone. Chun-Li roll. He fakes the roll kick. He faked the roll kick from Chun-Li. He's looking for the clone. Thugonomics denies it. Good job by Thugonomics to back him up, but almost nobody fakes Chun-Li on that roll kick. Sick plays from China here, and now Chun-Li is low. Touch of Karma available. Chun-Li rolls away. Saji on his toes looking for a clone, and sick plays from Pen and Paper throughout.
Yeah, they're going to have less peels, though, because they are not playing the Fist of Fury stun. Chun-Li sitting on the back of Dodo and trying to do damage, but I mean, Saji's just doing an incredible job. His positioning, absolutely perfect this game.
All right, mana is starting to even out. Novos might want to hold out on the purges, though. He needs to make sure this can go on for a little bit longer because Doyu has a lot of cooldowns to survive. Chun-Li getting bursted, but he rolled over to paralyze, trying to set up some damage. PCAT in position to peel. Sky Fury is down. Doyu wants to go in. PCAT trying to move in as well, but he's snared, and it is difficult to connect onto Windwalker Demon Hunter if they want to kite, and I think it's important for Splyce to be kiting right now and trying to set up drinks. It seems to be what they're trying to do. PCAT trying to connect. He misses the double Chaos Nova on Do. Now Do is not stunned, and that's going to put their pressure behind. Saji's on top of Novos, denying the drinks, and Saji really an MVP Druid. Double stun from Chun-Li here, trying to set up with some burst. Imprisoned on Saji, good cross crowd control. They need to get an Astral Shift from that, but they're not even finding it. Ice Fury attempt from Doyu. He pre-karma'd it, and Doyu held on to the Ice Fury. So Doyu baited that out. Now he's looking for another. Thugonomics is trying to go with that split DPS strategy, but that means he's going to be in the open, wide open for Doyu. Lava Burst flying out. Nice root on PCAT behind the pillar by Novos. Novos trying to escape. Doyu still setting up some burst. Now onto Novos. He literally soloed him down to 30%, and PCAT mounted up to charge over back onto Novos. He gets feared away. Good timing there by PCAT as they're trying to swap to the healer. Novos is starting to sweat right now. He's sitting in that Earthen Shield Totem trying to recover. Pummel onto his heal. Novos slowly starting to recover. Needs to get some heals. Gets wind sheared. Good interrupt coordination here from Pen and Paper.
No.
And now Novos gets storm bolted on the next cast. Imprison has to be used on the warrior for Novos to breathe. Doyu is now in trouble though as Splyce finally gets some pressure.
Yeah, but Novos has used everything. The only thing he has left is Spirit Link Totem at this point. A good kick onto Saji. The double stun coming out with the Storm, Earth, and Fire, so they're going to burst down Do with this burst, but excellent plays by Do, using the roots. Looks like PCAT is struggling to get reconnected onto his target.
Look at how smart he is. There's the Fire Elemental on Novos in the far corner. That Fire Elemental chasing him, denying a drink, and now Saji's moving in. He wants a bash. He wants a Cyclone. They got the interrupt from the Demon Hunter early on, so Chun-Li needs to stop the Cyclone. They paralyzed him, but he knew they were going to stop him, so he was in bear form beforehand. Now Chun-Li getting soloed in the middle. Touch of Karma shortly going to be available. That mana bar is the clock ticking on Splyce's life here in this series.
Yeah, and Chun-Li really needs to make something happen. He does have that Karma available if they do go on him, but he has PCAT right on his back non-stop. They're going to reconnect onto the Ellie Shaman. Touch of Death is used. This is probably going to be one of their last bursts of the game. Oh, he gets a Stormkeeper off.
He got the Touch of Karma right before it, and there's the Paralyze to cover with crowd control. Good cross CC from Splyce, but Saji denies the kill with a well-timed Iron Bark. Novos trying to sit down for a drink. PCAT leaps over. Good awareness, but he got the mana he needed. Now he's got the mana lead. He's got some mana he can dump to Purge. They got a 10-second window where Doyu doesn't have a defensive cooldown. They need to go now. They need the Purges. Novos needs to get aggressive. Paralyze on Saji, but now Novos is getting punished for that. If he's going to play aggressive, Doyu jumps on top of him, lobs out some Lava Burst, looking for an Ice Fury, and Doyu's looking to try and solo Novos. Chun-Li now getting stunned up by PCAT. PCAT gets imprisoned away, and these defensive imprisons are a sign of afraid. You can see Splyce are afraid because of these defensive imprisons. Novos Astral Shifts, jumps away from PCAT. PCAT's not going to keep chase. He's going to switch targets, try and back up Doyu, but now Saji may need to think about going for a drink here as this game moves on.
All of these Earthbind Totems have been incredible onto Thug and Chun-Li. They're going to go for the burst. They have the leg sweep. They force
Triple
Astral
Fear!
Shift.
Chun-Li in a 3v1! Will he go down? Doyu trying to chase him down. PCAT leaps over, trying to get it. Nice Cyclone out of the Fear. If one execute connects, Chun-Li will fall full Storm Bolt. Novos has Spear Link. Thugonomics needs to get over there. Darkness and Spear Link overlap from Splyce, but Chun-Li stays alive.
Yeah, and Thug got out of it immediately. Chun-Li is by himself with PCAT, doing a great job using that Tiger Eye brew so he can punch through that plate armor.
Nice imprison on the die by the sword. PCAT held it, low HP from Thugonomics. Can Novos line up some purges out of this? Saji has cooldowns to survive. It would be a throw for PCAT to go down. They don't get the Iron Bar. Paralyzed connects. Rallying try to stay alive a couple more seconds, but Chun-Li wants his kill. In the meantime, Doyu secures a full hex. Chun-Li gets caught into a storm bolt. Earthshock is 1 second too late. Gets the touch of karma off to save himself. Now PCAT on the back foot. If Novos connects any purges, will PCAT be able to hang on?
The Stormkeeper.
They're trying to keep it going. Doyu's trying to counter pressure. Sky Fury is down. Thugonomics seems to be the primary target. They're cleaving them both, trying to make sure that Earth Shield is not the target they're hitting. Double leg sweep, paralyzed setup, and Doyu has nothing left. And Splyce are looking to put a point on that board.
Oh, there we go.
We're
All
in
right,
a
now
series
Splyce.
now.
Yep, Splyce came back. I will say the big turning point of that match was Novos sitting down to drink. You saw his mana bar go up, and then you saw him completely use it on purges immediately.
Yeah, we also saw a lot of overlapped cooldowns from coming out from Pen and Paper towards the end there. We saw, I believe it was Die by the Sword and Ironbark used at the same time at one point. It seemed like Pen and Paper were sort of starting to, I feel bad even saying this, they were starting to go off book a little bit there. Starting to falter a little bit. Splyce recognizing that opportunity and able to come back and take a game off of Pen and Paper here.
Absolutely, but I think that Pen and Paper defensively looked impeccable. I feel like if this matchup gets repeated several times, this is Pen and Paper series to lose because they played flawless defensively. I saw so good positioning coming out of Gu. Every single time he was under pressure, he would leap behind that pillar and line of sight Novos and then just try to build up some pressure of his own. That was phenomenal from him. But they did not push in and punish Novos during that drink, as you mentioned, Jared.
Yeah, that's actually why I was so surprised to see even those cooldown overlaps I mentioned towards the end of it, is because in the first couple of games, and in fact the first like 75% of this game, Pen and Paper was a well-oiled machine, executing everything absolutely perfectly. Whenever something happened, like either Sagi would be there to come in with the bash into the Cyclone, or the Hex would come out, or the pummel, or the wind shears. Something was always happening. It seemed like they sort of started to fall apart towards the end of that game, which allowed Splyce to take the win. So we do have a quick replay to take a look at. Zico, if you want to talk us through what you've got for us here.
Absolutely. So this replay is going to be Novos is, okay, no, this is the, okay, so this is really big here, what's happening. Do is forcing out that touch of karma right there, and then he drops that hex off of that wind shear onto Novos. So he shears him, so he cannot be sheared back right there, and then he lands that hex, amounting to so much pressure. They forced out the karma, they forced out the cooldowns from Thugonomics as well, and this was just a really nice random CC. You don't really see too many hexes. I think that was the only hex of the game. And then here I also wanted to highlight Do's positioning. Look, now he knows he's under pressure. Both melees are connected. Touch of Death has been used. Immediate gust of wind. Where? Out of Nova's line of sight. There, he's standing. He charges up the Stormkeeper, and now here's the counter pressure. And this is the positioning we're talking about. And once you are tanking that leg sweep like that behind the pillar, it doesn't matter because Novos is, you know, he can't purge you in a situation like that. However, I would have liked to see Saji go in and stop that drink that's happening right now on Novos, because that was really one of the big turning points that kind of gave Splyce like a new life, so to speak. And then here, obviously, we got the kill. Saji really can't keep up with no Iron Bark. We got tons of offensive power coming out of Chun-Li, double leg sweep, and you know that's going to be all she wrote.
Yeah, I really feel like that drink was really the turning point of that match. After it almost seemed like after Novos got that drink, Pen and Paper was almost like on tilt at that point. Like they saw all of a sudden Novos's mana bar is like mostly full, and they just sort of that was the moment that I think that they fell apart. Like even if they just saw that and then thought to themselves, "Oh crap, we've lost this. How do we even come back from this?" Felt a little bit desperate in that point. I slightly wonder if just the fact that Novos's mana bar went from that to that was what actually, like, regardless of what he actually did with that mana, I almost wonder if just the mental aspect of that is what knocked them out there.
Absolutely. And one more thing was that PPCat was sitting in battle stance a whole lot. We saw him switching back and forth between the stances. And at one point, as Sid mentioned, he got caught in battle stance. He dropped dangerously low, and then he used Die by the Sword, immediate imprisonment from Thugonomics on that. And then they had to use the Iron Bark as well in that setup. And then they did not have that for the Shaman later on when he really needed it. And PPCat's got to be, I mean, he's playing phenomenally. He's stopping a lot of setups, and he's putting out a lot of pressure, but he's got to be very careful. He's got to respect the cooldowns because he is definitely a switchable target.
Yeah, so we do have our draft underway at the moment. It's going to be Pen and Paper's turn to pick the map. Then Splyce will pick their composition, followed by Pen and Paper picking their composition. So the question here is, where does Pen and Paper want to go? Especially if they want to stick with that Thundercleave that they've been doing so well with. What map do you guys think they would want to go
They could go
towards?
Blade's Edge. I mean, it's not a very popular map in tournament play right now, but when you have the advantage of an Ellie Shaman being able to knock back, you know, every single melee that jumps on top of them. So maybe we'll see that at this point.
It's so hard to call because on a small map, they stack up for double stuns, but on a big map, Chun-Li can ride the wind for Novos to get far away and drink. And it's difficult for the Warrior to keep up if he's constantly getting snared. He doesn't have a freedom on the Thundercleave. So that's what Novos and Chun-Li were doing to set up the drinks. Ride the wind across the map. Warrior can't catch up to him. He gets the drink, gets the mana back. So a small map will deny the drinks, but a small map will also shorten their lifeline. And that's the decision they're going to have to make. Can they stop the drinks, or do they want to try and go for a bursty game?
I feel like the decision is already made for them. This is pretty obvious in my eyes.
This is okay.
We got Tiger's Peak. Tiger's Peak is such a good map for an Ellie Shaman because you can jump from the bottom up to that little platform there in the middle, and that is such an effective way to deal with melees training the Shaman.
On this one too, on Blackrook to hold Arena,
you can do the same
there's
thing,
that small lip that, you know, if you're the one that can get far away from there at that point, it's great because that Warrior's not going to be, or the Windwalker is going to have to struggle to get around it. So.
Absolutely. And I guess the biggest difference between these two is that on Tiger's Peak, it is, as Sid mentioned, a little bit easier for Novos to get those drinks. But at the same time, on Blackrook Hold, you're going to be stacking up a lot more, like especially if Splyce tries to bait you into the room. When you pass that corridor, it's like the corridor of death, because that's when Chun-Li can just leg sweep the entire team, Fist of Fury stun the whole team if he's playing that, and that's when you can see Splyce kind of get some free crowd control that way. And once that happens, you got Novos purging, and all of a sudden the match can just end. So it's a risky pick, but they feel like they want to just stop the drinks mostly.
I think this is almost a sign of, like, Novos doesn't want to be on the clock with the Shaman. That was scary, right? If he didn't get the drink, they could have just easily lost. So he wants to play the healer with the best mana. In a tournament setting, you want to play for the safest build, right? You don't want to try and throw it away to some early aggression, but at the same time, I feel like Pen and Paper's comp is better suited for that strategy of extending the game out. And without those purges, I almost think that Doe should try to stack up Thugonomics, Stormkeeper, Chain Lightning 3 targets, sweeping strikes from the Warrior, and just out-cleave them in reverse, because there's no Electrocute, there's no Purge, there's no Wind Shear. And I think that's what they're about to do, and this could be it for Splyce in this series.
Yeah, this is scary. I mean, maybe they realized what they have to do. I don't know. I'm not sure with this pick. I know that, you know, Thug and Chun-Li did a great job last round. You know, there was a little bit of cooldown overlap from the team of Splyce, and they found the opening in Pen and Paper eventually, very, very end of the match. But I do think that Novos on Resto Shaman was one of the reasons why they were able to do that. So now that he's on Resto Druid, I don't know, this is scary for Splyce.
I don't agree with the Resto Druid here. I mean, I understand why they pick it, because obviously they know we're not going to get drinks off on Blackrook Hold, right? But at the same time, the Druid's like key strength is that in dampening, the Druid always wins, but that's if he's against another healer. When you're against another Druid, obviously the DPS is what makes the difference there. And as we saw in game number 1, the team with more DPS was the Thunder. But not only that, on a small map, a Resto Druid of Novos cannot pick Vim and Vigor, which is 20% increased healing. And on the side of Pen and Paper, Seigi actually can do that, because he only dies in a setup. He gets incapped, he gets stunned, and then after that, he's going to heal himself up. There's no like sustained damage that's going to keep him super low. And that's a big thing, because we saw Pen and Paper do a lot of Resto Druid switches where they would just randomly drop Novos to 20 or 30%, and then all of a sudden he has to retop that Vim and Vigor on himself, and then it just loses so much time doing that.
Yeah, this is gonna be a scary one for Splyce, I think. I mean, you guys have gone through all sorts of reasons why it's gonna be super dangerous for Splyce. I definitely agree, like especially on Blackrook Hold, this is going to be a difficult one for them. We do have the game now active. We'll be getting into that here in just a couple of seconds, so we can find out how this series is going to go. Is Splyce going to get the second game of their comeback here, or are Pen and Paper going to write the finishing lines of this series?
Oh, this is going to be a scary moment for the team of Splyce, because we're almost talking about this match as if it's like a 2-2 at this point. You know, like, oh, if Splyce can come back, they'll be all set. But they have to win twice in a row at this point, at a comp and map disadvantage both times. or advantage. And then, so I don't know. This is rough. I really hope that Novos just really pulls something out for his team right here. Pen and Paper just looking absolutely dominant so far.
Yeah, I definitely think Splyce are afraid. Pen and Paper just sticking to one comp, one strategy, just play good and win. That is Pen and Paper strategy. Splyce, they're playing afraid, they're overlapping cooldowns, and now with the Druid, they're going to lose their aggression that the Shaman would have brought, and we have to see how that plays out. Nice Cyclones from Novos early on, denying PCAT's pressure on that Warrior. Thugonomics, though, caught into a bash, and Doe is trying to blast into him. Novos repositioning. It looks like PCAT's looking as if he wants to fear Novos, but he's going to charge back, hold on to the fear. Chun-Li portals away from the charge. Leap into swap onto Novos. Huge damage to follow that up. Already down to half. Sharpened Blade following that up. Onto the Frenzy Regeneration as well. Denying all the boosted healing. No, Novos saved it. That was smart by Novos. Saved the Frenzy Regeneration until after the Sharpened Blade. Made sure it was almost a full heal. If he had done that into it, he might be dead right now. Yeah. But he had to use his Iron Bark and his Bark Skin, so Splyce in a bad position, although.
And look, Saji can just do whatever he wants at this point. He's going to get incapped pretty much on cooldown. But there we go. Now we have
Pre-walled it. Doe
pre-Astral
Shift the stun. If he didn't do that, I actually think he was dead there. Nice play from Doe. Now they're trying to set up some pressure, but they switch to PCAT. He can't sit in battle stance. That's good awareness there by Splyce, punishing PCAT for playing aggressive. Doe, you trying to jump back, retreating behind the pillar, trying to bait Chun-Li or Thugonomics to overextend, and they're falling for the bait so far. Novos needs to be ready for that. He's moving back out into the middle of the map. Chun-Li portals back. He's not going to overextend and fall for Doyu's trap behind this ramp. Now that he's recovered, he immediately charges back in. Thugonomics is going to move in as well. Mana basically tied. Saji is repositioned. I like this. In the room, he's out of line of sight of Novos for Cyclones, and you can use that to line of sight. Now he's moving in to chase down Novos. Bash landed into a Cyclone. Doyu jumps over to try and make sure he's in line of sight for the burst, but he stacks him up for a double stun. Good punish from Thugonomics. Now Doyu in trouble. Triple sweep. Cyclone up from Novos. Good crowd control from Splyce. Will Doyu be able to survive? Runs away. Swap over to PCAT. Die by the sword, gets imprisoned, and Splyce are on fire now. They are waking up.
Yeah, Doe's trying to get that Stormkeeper off. Ice Fury is cast. Now he's going to try to do some damage. Gets picked up by Saji, though, but PCAT is also very low. There we go. The incap comes out from Chun-Li. PCAT getting dangerously low at this point, but is staying offensive.
Oh, nice Fury of the Illidari there with Fel Barrage, cleaving both targets down. Saji struggling, the interrupt landed, and Thugonomics looking to nail the kill, but can't connect. Doyu barely escaping by the skin of his teeth, but Splyce put that doggy down. 2-2. Splyce bringing this series back.
And
one more
job.
win on that board, and they're going to be taking out Pen and Paper, and I don't know, I swear they were just asleep in the first two games, and
it could have been.
Now they're waking up.
Said it's early. That was great play at the very end by Novos, pushing forward to get that bash into the crowd control onto Saji. And look at the relief on their faces now that it is 2-2. However, it is still map advantage and comp advantage, for Pen and Paper. So.
Yeah. They had good positioning, except for when Doe brought the Windwalker and the Demon Hunter on top of his healer.
Yeah.
He did that twice.
Yep.
Earlier on during leg sweep when he pre-walled, which was great, but then he did it again, and he didn't have pre-wall. So that was definitely the two biggest mistakes from Doe so far in the series, and definitely cost them that match for sure.
I really think that the biggest reason that costed them the match was actually Saji. He was standing back in the room, and you said it as well during the game. He repositioned. He was standing far away. Things were looking really good for them. All of a sudden, he blinks in for that bash, and when he does that, immediate touch of karma from Chun-Li, and then Do realizes, okay, I can't do anything now, Touch of Karma is active. So then he leaps across, and that is also a very big mistake, because then they stack up, double Chaos Nova, and all of a sudden, Saji, he's not the one going for the clone, he's the one getting cloned instead. And then that's what happened that led to the kill. So two crucial mistakes, like you pointed out, Sid.
How do you feel about the aggressive fear from PCAT at the start? They charged on Novos and they feared DPS way to train him.
If Pen and Paper plays to live, they can walk away with this one. And I also think that the Blackrock hold is a very dangerous pick, because it has its advantages, obviously, that you can stop drinks, you can play back in the room and have the healer in the room and then the DPS in the middle, which is very nice against the Windwalker. But at the same time, I would have liked to see Tiger's Peak. It's a bigger map, much easier for the LA Shaman to get away. You're not going to be stacking with your healer very often on Tiger's Peak either. And as I said earlier, you can also abuse the fact that you can jump up like that, which is much more effective on a bigger map than on a smaller map.
Yeah, definitely. So we're seeing now Splyce in the middle of what might end up being a reverse sweep here. They were down 2-0 earlier in the series, and now they've managed to bring it back to a game 5. That does mean, like we were saying earlier, that this is going to be once again Pen and Paper's map and counter comp pick. They'll be able to choose what map they want to go to, as well as what composition they will play once Splyce has locked in their composition. That said, it really seems like Pen and Paper is sticking to this this Thundercleave pretty much no matter what. So the counter comp advantage isn't really there for them. It's more just going to be a matter of what map do they want to go to. We're going to find that out here. It's going to be Tiger's Peak, like you were saying last game, Zico. You were sort of expecting them to go there. They went to Black Cold instead. Now they have Tiger's Peak still to play on for their last stand here.
I really, really hope that Pen and Paper doesn't let that game get under their skin and they keep playing the Thunder. Because if they were to swap to a Cleave now, it's basically you're just kind of gambling at this point, and you have to rely on preparation and on the war game results and stuff like that. Right now, you've played a nice series. I think you should close it out. Play the same thing. You know what you're against. You know how the matchup plays. You've won this matchup as well earlier on a large map. So I think if they trust in the map, they should be able to walk away with this. And while we've been praising Stagi for all of his offensive clones and really carrying some of these games, in the previous game, I think if you just stayed back and just played really passive, that would have been way better. So I would like to see Saji just tone it down a little bit maybe, because Splyce, they're a very seasoned team. They're not going to let something like that happen several times in a row.
I think they just got overconfident with the Druid pick. I think they thought they were safer than they were. Doyu wasn't kiting in Ghost Wolf as much as he was in the earlier 2 games, and he tried to right at the end, but it was too late at that point. So Pen and Paper still need to respect the amount of cleave damage from Thugonox and Chun-Li if they stack up too long. And I think as long as Do focuses on surviving, as Zico pointed out, Saji focuses on just staying away. Only go for the really safe Cyclones when everybody's crowd controlled and there's not really a worry, or if Novos overextends on you, you can Cyclone him, but him putting himself out in the open instantly triggered Chun-Li to say, I know you're not healing, I'm just going to pop everything onto your Ellie, and this is a swap for them. They're going to be going with the Windwalker Death Knight themselves.
Okay.
They're going to be mirroring, or well,
with
not
the
mirroring them, but
Shaman.
This is not a bad matchup at all, actually.
I think it's a good pick.
This is an intelligent pick because they have the Resto Shaman now, and it's actually due on that Resto Shaman. So Saji is going to be on the bench, and this is going to be very interesting to see because they have so much offensive power. They can kill Thugonomics. We can see incaps onto Novos, and then they can kind of grip him in and stun him up and really force the issue there. And Novos has also been playing Relentless in the previous game, so it's going to be interesting to see if he does that now as well. Because if he gets incapped and then we see PP Cat drop a touch of death and pop all of his offensive cooldowns, they can take down Novos just in a matter of seconds.
I think it's smart for them on game 5. Pick a highly aggressive comp. The other team was expecting Thunder and kind of maybe playing passive and more for dampening, but this is the opposite now, in fact. And I really want to see how Doyu plays this composition. We have not seen China play the Windwalker Death Knight really this exclusively. And will he be going all in aggression with purge spam? And then this will be the first time that Novos has had to deal with that. He's usually the guy running and purging the other team. Now he's the one that's going to be having to play defense, and maybe Pen and Paper can crush this out quickly.
Absolutely. They're going to be testing Novos on his Druid to the limit right now. This is one of the hardest things that you can heal as a Resto Druid. I mean, you got 2 of the highest damage dealers in the game paired with a Shaman. And also, not only that, but Splyce have kind of been getting comfortable now in this series. They've kind of been bringing it back, waking up a little bit, as Sid said. And instead, we're going to have, all of this cleave experience from Pen and Paper come in. It's going to be exciting to see.
Yep, the game is just about to get underway. This is game 5 between Pen and Paper and Splyce. We'll see if Splyce with their Windwalker Demon Hunter, if they're going to be able to take this out against Pen and Paper, coming out with the surprise Windwalker DK pick, bringing in Danisiner for this 5th game.
I wonder if PCAT just wanted to role play on Tiger's Peak. He's like, we have to pick Tiger's Peak. I want to pick my monk. I got to role play, get my role play in. But we're going into game 5. 2-2 between Pen and Paper and Splyce. Splyce have finally woken up, but now Pen and Paper are going to break out all-out aggression, I can imagine, here as the gates open. What do you think's going to happen, VHL? Do you think Novus is going to crumble?
I don't know. That's, like we were saying, that's a big test. They're actually kind of scared. Thugonomics is playing Death from Above, actually, Rain from Above, rather. So he's going to be able to get out of
Oh, they're going for the aggression on Doe instead. Caught behind the pillar, anti-magic zone. Doe's going to stay in the safety of that bubble, soak up the interrupts and cast a full. Nova's getting gripped in. This will be the testament of his druid skill. Trades out Barkskin, Darkness, and he pre-Bearformed the stun. That was an overreaction if I've ever seen one. Thugonomics is going to fly up into the air to avoid the swap, but Novos overcommitted his team's cooldowns, and now if they set up another swap, he's going to be easily isolated. They're just going for the throat, gunning him down. That cooldown overlap could cost the series. He barely blinks away with a nice imprisonment. Novos trying to get some seconds to breathe, but PCAT on his heels. Doe moving in as well.
You hear the purge over and over and over onto Novos. They're going to swap onto Doe. This is smart with the leg sweep into the Fist of Fury stun, so they're not even playing super all in with Tiger Eye Brew.
One more leg sweep though on Novos. This could be it. He's relentless. There's no darkness. Nothing can save him. As long as Doe can stay alive though, and Splyce are keeping the pressure on.
He's trying
to jump away. Catches a healing surge, gets paralyzed on the next one. Another healing surge, another one. He needs as many healing surges as he can to deal with that touch of death. Doe survives, and now Novos needs to keep an eye out. That death grip from Danny could be the end of the match. Novos is so far away. Good positioning. Needs to stay behind that statue. He should know he's the target. He's waiting for Barkskin, staying out of line of sight, and Thugonomics is keeping up the aggression. Double stun, Chaos Nova, paralyzed on Thug. Nice peels from PCAT. We saw him peeling on the Warrior. Now he's peeling with the Windwalker. Doe pre-Earthen Shields. He's getting ready for the go. Trying to get a gift to the Queen as well, going for the extra stamina. Trying to predict this. Novos gets gripped in, bared the stun. Perfect timing from Novos. Nice imprisonment on the Death Knight, denying the swap here on Novos. Doe not in a position to chase him down, and Novos escapes. Really good setup there to peel, and now they should be in a good position to start swinging this around.
Yeah, and Chun-Li just trying to kite a little bit. He does have his Storm Earth and Fire clones out, you know, trying to do some damage onto Danny Center by himself. I will say that it seems like Splyce is very comfortable with this matchup. The big burst onto Danny Center down to half right there. With a little, but even though they are splitting right now, and we do have Thug that is harassing Doe behind the pillar, that does mean that he's forced to swap Earth Shield over and over.
All right, so Pillar of Frost coming up in 20 seconds for Danny. That's going to be the big burst of damage, but Novos has Barkskin. Doe's the one on the back foot. Thugonomics has been going after him constantly by himself on a solo mission to take down this Shaman. Now Doe looking for a Hex to punish that interrupt, gets imprisoned. Now Thug should be able to come back. PCAT still trying to peel Chun-Li off, and Danny's focusing down Chun-Li as well, knowing that Touch of Karma isn't available. Thugonomics getting hexed very far in the back line. Now PCAT getting set up on. Novos trying to blink away. Chun-Li portals out, and Splyce are actually retreating. I'd like to see Doe sit down for a drink in this position almost. I'm wondering if that's what he's thinking. He's moving really far behind that balcony on the far side of the map. If he gets some mana back, we could see a repeat. Thugonomics is not going for the stop. They're looking for the kill instead, but that's a critical mistake. Danny has defensives. They need to stop the drink. Chun-Li's going to move over, but Dao already got mana back. They're going to swap to him instead. He's so far away. They're going all in for the kill. Fist of Fury to follow up. AMZ at the final second for Doe. Double blinding sleet to buy him. Peel. Nice kick. Soaks an interrupt on 1%, and Thugonomics looks for the kill. PCAT peels with the Fist of Fury at 1%. Doe gets caught into the paralyzed. Doe hangs on by a thread. Touch of Karma offensively from Chun-Li. They want to take this series down, and Doe is looking to defy it.
And he's running for his life. Touch of Death is off cooldown at this point. That there it goes. Touch of Death with the kick on top of it. Doe needs peels right now. His team needs to help him out. You see PCAT just desperately trying to do everything he can. They're trying to turn it around onto Chun-Li at this point. That Touch of Death is forced. And
Darkness was used.
How?
Thugonomics uses Darkness there, so that won't be available for Novos if they swap to him, but Thug doesn't care. He's keep going. I love these hexes by Doe, dragging Thugonomics really far away from Novos, and Novos got baited in now to try and dispel, but he pre-bearformed it. Novos has been playing really well in this game right now. He's pre-bearformed 3 setups in a row. Now Doe in trouble. Triple stun up from Chun-Li as they look to claim another kill. Will they find the opportunity? Doe hanging on by a thread. Thugonomics preemptively flies in the air, expecting some burst there from Danny with Pillar Frost pop. That was good prediction from Thug, but now Novos is in an awkward position where they swap over to him, gets paralyzed. Danny catches up into the Fist of Fury. Chun-Li peels him away with the paralysis of his own into a Fist of Fury. Good peels there from Chun-Li. Novos getting some seconds to breathe. Doe's mana is starting to get tapped. He can't afford to purge anymore. It's a risk. Now with stun landed, Fury of Illidari has been launched. Ride the Wind is down, and they're going to train Doyu constantly. He manages to escape, though, getting some breathing room. Nova still with the mana lead. Thugonomics trying to get back on target, and Danny and PCAT seem to be in an awkward position with what they want to do, and they need to figure out their game plan soon.
Yeah, all right, and it looks like the game plan is to go onto Thug at this point, but, great grip right there, but he's going to do it again. 2 charges of Fell Rush. They're going all in.
He peels him away. Double leg sweep. Good peels from PCAT. Now Thugonomics is overextended. Huge Cinder Ghost. A Hex landed on Nova.
Oh my God.
Takes the Hex. Chun-Li now down at half. Touch of Karma has been forced, and Splyce are in full retreat.
What a Hex! while he had 2 melee right on top of him. Great job. Pen and Paper showing so much skill. Chun-Li forced to use that touch of karma. It does fade, not full life. And you can see Splyce just in full retreat mode at this point.
Is he drinking?
Again.
Oh, Thug is trying to jump over there. He gets paralyzed. Doe, is he getting mana? I can't see the blue bar on Doe going up. I don't think he's actually getting mana back. He got a little bit. The littlest bit of mana.
Wow.
What can Doe do with that is the question. Double Fist of Fury. They need to peel. Danny saves him with the anti-magic zone. He's trying to get the cast of heals. He gets stunned again. He's just going down through it. There's too much damage from Splyce. Spirit Link is forced out. Now Chun-Li in trouble. No touch of karma. Novos gets wind sheared. Can Novos save Chun-Li in prison on the Death Knight? Trying to buy more time to train down Do-Yu. Do-Yu with no defensives. Tanks out the interrupt, but Thug jumps into the air. I'm wondering if he really needed to. He's going to lose a lot of damage. Paralysis gets broken instantly. He's trying to kill him with Fell Lances, but Fell Lance is not enough DPS. Do-Yu's going to recover. Chun-Li now on the back foot. Novos gets gripped in, but they don't have the stun to follow it up. That was a bit of a misplay there from Danny. His Pillar of Frost is up. He really wants to connect. Chun-Li sees that. He moves away from the Death Knight. Thugonomics moves away from the Death Knight immediately. They need to stay away for a couple of more seconds. They're still just kiting it out, waiting for it to be over, but Doe sees that kiting. He's trying to sit down for a drink. Thug immediately switches back to stop that drink, and Doe has been pulling out miracles with such little mana. Can Pen and Paper strive it out and take down North America's Splyce?
And PCAT is doing a great job of getting back onto Thug every single time that Doe does go to sit and Thug tries to go to drink. Now we see Novos push up a little bit, pre-bear forming at that moment as they get the double stun onto the DPS of Pen and Paper. Thug kiting a little bit. Novos' mana is getting a little bit low. That grip happens again. And you know, Danny's trying to stick onto his target. PCAT is kiting a little bit. They get the stun onto Thug. They're bursting him down with tons of damage. The leg sweep to follow it up, getting extremely low. Novos just pumping out those regrowths.
Oh, but he spent all of his mana, and suddenly we're actually tied on mana. We're moving deep into dampening. It's still anyone's match. Thugonomics needs to be careful. He can't afford to throw this game like he did game 2, but he's going too aggressive. He's right on top of Doe. He could easily throw this match. Novos can't keep up with him. Doe caught in the Fist of Fury. Thugonomics can't get back up. He's going to pull back. He's not throwing the fight, trying to play defensive, staying in the middle of the map so Novos can top him off. They need to wait for defensive cooldowns. They need to be worried. This is match point. You can tell the nerves are high. Thug now moves in. Will he be able to stay alive? Doe looks for a Hex constantly behind these pillars. Now that the interrupt's over, he can tank out some heals. He's going to jump back up, trying to bait them down to the bottom, but he can immediately metamorphosis back on top. PCAT needs to peel. They drop the AMZ. They grip them in, but a triple Fist of Fury from Chun-Li claims that kill, and Splyce are going to take this series 3-2.
Ooh. Something that's really interesting that I wasn't expecting whatsoever, and I had to make sure I saw it twice to be sure. Danny Sinner was playing Chill Streak instead of Overpowered Rune Weapon. Overpowered Rune Weapon is overpowered. It really is. Taking a minute off of that, I believe it's a minute, off of your Hungering Rune Weapon, or depending on what you're playing, Chill Streak's nice. It does a lot of damage against Cleave on paper when you're looking at it. It's a good idea, but I think it was a huge mistake doing that.
Yeah, I think it's important to note just how much of a swap Pen and Paper made there as well in terms of composition, not just in having Danny Sinner come in on the DK and having PPCat switch from his Warrior to his Windwalker, but they swapped out Sagi as their healer, who was playing the Resto Druid before, and had Doe, who was previously playing Elemental, switch to Resto Shaman. They're one of the only teams that can actually do that, where they switch out their healer, and it really seems like it just did not work for them. They were not the well-oiled machine that we saw in the first 4 games.
I hope our replay has that first burst onto Doe, because he got so low. I can't believe he lived during that first exchange.
Yeah, and that's the nice thing about Splyce. They realize, okay, these guys want to pressure us. We need to get in there before they do and really try to create something out of nothing, basically, and that's what they managed to do with that opener. That was very nice from them. But the really thing I'm critical for Pen and Paper is the draft, because their draft, we saw that, okay, they can kill Novos, but Novos was actually playing up to par here. He was pre-bear forming some of those grip stuns, and he was staying far back so he can telegraph when the Monk wants to go in and incap him in that caster form. So that's really good positioning, really good awareness from Novos, and you got to give the man credit for playing that well defensively. And also, Chun-Li. Chun-Li did a phenomenal job stopping PPCat in his tracks. Every time. And the thing is, when your composition only has 1 kill target, then it's very limited to what you can do. And then the enemy, obviously,
you can read it. Yeah.
They know that. So Nova's just going to stay far back. He's not going to keep that many hots up on his Windwalker or his Demon Hunter. And then you kind of just play into their hands at that point. So that's why I like that they were switching to Thug at the end, but at the same time, Thug was playing Rain from Above. He has Blur, he has Darkness, he has so many different tools to actually get out of that. So I really would have liked to see the Thunder one more time, but you know, it's easy to say in hindsight, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There was also a point in the towards I guess at this point it's about the middle of that last match where we saw the first real opportunity where Chun-Li and Thugonomics were just chasing forever after Do, really trying to get that kill. I was so worried that they were just going to throw it right then and there because they extended so far past their actual kill window and they were just still chasing. We do actually have a replay that we can take a look at. Zico, if you want to break this down for us.
Absolutely. So we got so many good clips in this matchup right here, but this is earlier on in the game. Novos gets gripped, pre-bears the stun. If he doesn't do this, he has to use his he has to use so much more cooldowns, you know, and Darkness right here is on cooldown as well. The Bark Scene might have not even been enough there. And on the other side here, we see Do taking so much damage. This was when he was trying to drink, and when he drinks like that, he's all by himself. No peels are coming in on Chun-Li and Thug, and he barely hangs on here. Has to use so many cooldowns, and look at that, he gets kicked, he has a sliver of health, and then
I can't believe he lived. I can't believe he lived.
Look at the awareness there. He jumped out of the AMZ because he knew all the Monk's damage is physical, so he needed to just avoid it. And because he jumped away from the Monk, it wasn't enough damage for Thugonomics to kill him, so one Riptide held him at 5%. That was actually insane, that moment right there. That was probably the most miraculous recovery we've seen.
Absolutely, that was, and the game was filled with moments like this. But you don't want to be in this situation if you're pen and paper. You want to be on the aggressive side. You have the Shaman against the Druid, and here once again, Do going for a drink. His team falls back. Triple leg sweep. Thug. He's going to drop super low here as well. And there is the Hex. Beautifully done. You know, when there's so much on the line, there's so much pressure, Do manages to find a Hex when he's been the target the whole game. He just shows good awareness. I mean, Do played really good on the rest of Shaman. I just feel like as a team, pen and paper didn't really find, you know, an opportunity offensively like they wanted to. And then here the Darkness is being popped so they can stay offensive, and then they take down PP Cat with that triple leg sweep.
That was without any cooldowns from Chun-Li also, because his Touch of Death is down right now, plus his Storm Earth and Fire, so he didn't have anything. I do need to apologize. Danny Center was not playing Chill Streak. That was actually the talent where, I think it's called Avalanche, where things crash around you when you have Pillar active. I was like, wait, did I see Chill Streak? Like, wow, that's really surprising.
Yeah. All right, so that does mean that Splyce is going to be taking this victory 3-2 with the reverse sweep.
They're wiping their foreheads.
Yeah, definitely. And we have Jackson down at the stage with Chun-Li for an interview.
Hey, thanks so much, Josh. That is true. We are standing by with Chun-Li. He has gotten a chance to catch his breath after that insane comeback. You guys were down 0-2. How did you keep your composure in that?
Well, to be honest, like, we were pretty, like, what's the word? I guess destroyed, like mentally, just like, I don't know. Those guys were just really good. I don't know.
Yeah, well, as destroyed as you may have been, you guys stuck in it. You stayed right with it as a team. It seemed like you guys were able to make the plays that you needed to. Where do you think that this being the first match ever in the Blizzard Arena for World of Warcraft, you think the nerves were getting to you guys a little bit? I mean, you haven't played on stage since regionals.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. Like, I was super nervous, and it's cold up here too, so I'm like kind of shaking.
Well, you didn't seem that shaky in those last 3 matches. You guys definitely came together as a team, but I want to ask you, it seemed like you guys got a little bit thrown off by that Thunder Cleave that they brought out. What was that about?
Well, like, we wargamed versus, like, a bunch of Thunders, and we destroyed them all as that comp that we queued the first game. And these guys, like, are tremendously better. Like, hats off to them. Huge respect.
Yeah, well, you guys definitely showed up today and are going on to play at the big stage. But you guys did an excellent job today. Looking forward to seeing you guys later in the week. But we're going to go ahead and throw it back to Josh at the desk for more.
Great, thanks a lot. I love that you can just tell so much, just the relief washing over Chun-Li. Like, looking at it, when Jackson asked him, like, you were up against it, how did you feel about that? And just like the gloss that comes over the eyes, like the sort of like, oh god, yeah, I have no idea how we actually did that. But they did it, man. They did it. They got the reverse sweep. They came back 3-0 versus the 2 games that Pen and Paper had already won, and they were able to take that, and they will be obviously, we're in the group stage right now, so there's no real advancement just yet, but that does put them in a great position to be able to move on to the finals at BlizzCon. And I believe by winning that match, they've also made sure that they are not going to be one of the 2 teams eliminated today.
Yep. If you win today, you can't be eliminated. I do believe is how it works right now. And I will say, if that was our first match of the day, something that we kind of expected that to be a 3-0 landslide pretty much, I am so excited for this tournament.